Libra Ascendant, Libra Rising. This is your April 2020 new moon video. Welcome, and I hope you are doing well. I hope you are surviving the lockdown. And as always, comment below and let us all know what it is you're doing to stay sane, to stay safe, and to keep the peace. You know, you're Libra, so you are this great diplomat. So you might have some awesome tips and tricks for people to understand how it is that they can better relate to people they're not used to having to spend 24/7 with. Okay, so we're going to talk about the new moon. This is a time when we have the power of the sun, the power of the moon, and they bond. They sit on top of each other and they basically stick together. The sun being our vitality, our energy, our strength, our ability to shine, our ability to radiate and express. And then we've got the moon, which is our emotions, okay? And they combine. So the sun energizes the emotions and the emotions fuel the sun. Remember, emotions are energy. So this is what makes up every new moon energy. Now, because it is in the sign of Taurus at 3 degrees and 24 minutes, happens on the 22nd of April, or I should say Central Standard Time, depending upon where you live. So it could be on the 23rd for you because it happens like at 9:30 at night on the 22nd. Now I'm going to give out a date of when I would set my new moon intention, because it is a time when we are working with the available frequencies. And it is my strong belief that when you understand how to work with the energies, you are then working as a metaphysician. And isn't that what we all are here for? Isn't that why you're watching the channel? You want to understand what energies are going to be available, when they're going to be available, and what you need to do to work with them, right? You don't want to get up and box them. You want to know when to duck, right? You want to know when to do the whole bobbing and weaving thing, or when you've got energy at your back, when you can rush forward toward a goal and know that you're going to hit it right on the mark. So this is what new moon intentions are all about. It's realizing that I have things I need in my life, things I want in my life, things I want for my future, and understanding that the universe can help me get those things. Taurus energy is what I want, is what I desire. It's fixed energy. It is grounded energy, it's earth, so it's stable. Understanding that Taurus tends to hold on to things with its fixed energy. So when we say, this is what I want, we kind of have a hesitance, or I should say a resistance, a stubbornness. That's one of the vices of Taurus energy, to not change what we want. But folks, this is all about changing what you want. This is about understanding the difference between needs and wants. Because it's not just this new moon, it's what we're in, right? The whole lockdown thing, it's making us reevaluate. It's doing it by us not being, it's forcing us to go within. It's forcing us because we aren't able to go out. We have to stay within. So if you were one of those people who had a hard time focusing and staying within your own space, and you have always felt maybe uncomfortable, because honestly, a Libra Ascendant, Libra Rising puts Aries energy in your 7th house. And if you have Aries energy over in your 7th house, you are going to attract folks who are going to be not only fiery, but they like to start things. They like to initiate relationships, meaning you also express that energy. You like to initiate relationships. So you probably have a buttload of friends. And at the same time, you're never going to be without a significant one-on-one person in your life. I know an a Libra Ascendant, and for them, it's not that they never had time alone, but they have this understanding, and they're married actually, but they have this understanding that their husband, God forbid that they should lose their partner, but they have this knowing that they'll have another partner someday. It's not like this fated, oh, he's or she is the one and there can never be another. No, it's this, things happen. This is the real world. You know, we meet people and we enjoy them for while we have them. And sometimes things happen, we no longer have them. And then after we get over that, you know, we process all the pain and the loss and the grief and we go through that, there's going to be a new person in my life. And so they have this really clear understanding of that. And that is that Aryan energy in the 7th house, because they are not afraid to initiate new relationships. All right. Desires and wants and the new moon. Okay. Our desires and our wants and what it is, what do we really need for our future? We need to be honing in on our value systems. This is what this new moon is about. This is about Venus. Venus is how I receive. Venus is about how I give. She's been the ruler this entire month. I know we've been hearing Pluto and Capricorn, but at the beginning of the month, we had Venus ruling the full moon in Libra, your sign. At this new moon, towards the end of the month, we have Venus ruling the new moon. She rules Taurus energy. So relationships and love, how I give, how I receive, what I value, who I value, it's big time highlighted. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the other videos, but Juno, who's all about the one, our lover, right, our marriage partner, has been transiting through the sign of Libra for like 6 months now, and it's going to be there for like another 6 months. It goes direct and it goes backwards. I mean, it stays in Libra for a long time. So we are really honing in on who we really value, putting ourselves in that bucket, and what we and who we no longer need. So with that, let's dive into your Libran all astrology. Okay, Libra ascendant, Libra risings. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about this new moon and find out where it's going to happen in your life. But before we do that, I've got to discuss the opposing energy of the new moon, because it's the opposing energy is where we literally set our intentions, and it's working with those energies and understanding where that is in your life. Aries is in your 7th house, so that puts Taurus in your 8th house. Okay, so your Taurus is the new moon energy. Again, it happens at 3:24. That's the sun and the moon together. It's a powerful time for setting intentions. But the energy that we really want to look at is your Scorpio energy. Okay, Taurus is what we're holding on to. It doesn't want to let go. It's fixed. It's rigid. It doesn't like change. It likes things to be familiar and stable because it thinks that if something is the same, it gives you satisfaction. It emotionally gives you security. And it somehow thinks it gets financial security, right? It's that one idea of, oh, I've had this job for 35, 40 years. You know, I've got a very secure future. So being in your 8th house, you would definitely have friendships that you've made. Doesn't have to be a lover, right? It could be, but it's not limited to that. But it's intimate, deeply, emotionally bonded relationships, because you've got Taurus in your 8th house. You value the hell out of those, okay? You would hold them near and dear. And it would take a lot for somebody to get you to the degree where you've written them off, where you've decided they are no longer part of my life. This would take a lot. Someone have to really do you wrong for that to happen. And I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying it's not needed, because we all have people in our life where that happens, where we just get to a point in our growth and in our living where there's a time where we just have to release people. But the Taurus part of you doesn't like to do that because it holds on to things, okay? So just recognize that about yourself. You can find out more about that by finding where Venus is in your chart, and that will tell you so much more about that 8th house. Now go to the opposite in your chart. Again, if you don't know, or if you have any questions, or you need me to simply clarify, comment your digits in down below, and I'll help you out. If you're new here, welcome. This is All Astrology. I am G. And if you have any questions, if you have any qualms, if you have any confusion, comment. If you need a chart, comment. I will help you out. You especially want the kind of a chart that I use, only because that way the words that are coming out of my mouth jive with what you're looking at, and I can help you to get that. Now, we slide on over to the opposite of your 8th house, okay? Because we need to find your Scorpio energy. Your Scorpio energy is in your 2nd house. Now, your 2nd house is what you value, okay? Your 8th house is what we value. Shared resources, shared energy. The 2nd house is my values. These are mine. But you have Scorpio there. So this is that whole thing of, you know, I'll give you an example of the 8th house, and not to confuse you, the 8th house Because you have like a flipped chart, we would call, where in your second house, which is Taurus, you have Scorpio energy. And in your eighth house, which is Scorpio, you have Taurus energy. You get it? So you have both energies in each house, right? So it might be like, hey, what the hell does that mean anyway? So in your eighth house, because you have Taurus there, you would view other people's values as greater than your own. Having Scorpio in your second house, it reinforces that belief, because the second house is what I value. These are my values, okay? If there were a lot of planets there, this could be the house of somebody who was a klepto, because they would see, and I mean that in a nice way, it's not to be name calling. It would be somebody who would see something, would see a value of somebody's, like, say someone's got this nice little statue, a figurine of some sort, piece of art, and they're like, ooh, that's nice. But because they have a lot of planets there, it would intensify their desire for other things that don't belong, for other people's things, because it's Scorpio energy. So Scorpio energy is other people's values, right? It's somebody else's stuff in your second house. You value their stuff. So if you've got a lot of things there, and if they're squared, you would have a tendency, like when you were a child, you might have had a tendency to take things that you liked. You might have been like, ooh, shiny, that's great, I want it, and you might have taken it, okay? So understanding as an adult now, this is important, because when you realize that you have the tendency, the inclination to put more value on somebody else's stuff, what does that mean? That means that no matter how good your shit is, it's always going to pale in comparison. But because you were born with this overemphasis, this over focus on what somebody else had. It's the grass looks greener on the other side. But once you get there, it's really not, right? But for you, you would always just think that. Now, if you've grown, if you've been aware of this, if you understand it and you've worked with it, you've accepted it instead of hiding it and denying it, you've been honest with yourself and said, God, yeah, that's so freaking true. I really have always been really drawn to what other people have. I've been really drawn where I see or I think they always have it better than me. They have it easier than me. Everything about them and their life is just better. Mine is shit. It's garbage, right? There would be this tendency to think that everything you have isn't that great. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? Because if you look to your third house of thinking, you have Sagittarian energy there. Okay, now depending upon what else you have there, what does Sagittarian energy, what's its ruler? It's Jupiter. Jupiter expands things. That's a nice way of well, I'm just going to be real. It exaggerates, okay? Bottom line, it can exaggerate stuff. So if you have this tendency to think that what you have isn't that good, you can exaggerate that. Therefore, looking at other people's things, okay, there's an exaggeration on their values because you think that way. You have an exaggerated form already set in place. Now look at your fourth house. You have Capricorn energy there. Capricorn is tangible, physical, 3D things, right? Things that are that appear very stable. Physical objects, because the fourth house is our emotional world, it's our emotional security, it's what gives us emotional stability and satisfaction. Material things give you emotional security. That's another inclination, right? To that second house and valuing other people's stuff, okay? I have a good friend, and she's got things that she's had ever since she was a very, very, very little girl, because these physical objects were things that they were given to her by her family. And so for her, no matter where she's moved, she's dragged them around from each location because they give her emotional security. And it's now as an adult that she is realizing, oh my gosh, maybe I'm ready to get rid of some of these things. Maybe I've grown a little and I see that it's not really those things that were giving me the security. It was my thinking that these things give me the emotional security, okay? It always goes back to the third house. That Jupiter in that third house, Sagittarian energy, blows things up, makes them bigger than they really are. All right. And having Capricorn in the fourth house, it's Saturn ruled, right? Saturn rules Capricorn. Saturn is dry and cold. Okay. It can be distant. It can have a tendency to be narcissistic. Okay, now that's if you have planets there, right? And it also depends if what other things are angling it. But I'm saying all of this. So far, none of this sounds good. It's like, oh my God, you're really picking on me. You're beating me up here. No, this isn't about that. This is about trying to raise your consciousness, because these are aspects that you have. We all have them too, but they just look different. We all have every sign of the universe, every sign of all of the zodiac in our chart. So we all have these vices, we all have these virtues, we all have these things we're not proud of. But the sooner you can hone in on them and claim them, and that doesn't mean you have to tell everyone about them. That doesn't mean you have to raise a flag and say, this is me, I'm this. No, I don't want you over-identifying with them. But I want you to at least be aware of them. Put a flashlight on them, right? Put the light on them and acknowledge them. Recognize them. And then deal with them. Okay? It doesn't mean to get stuck in them. It means to look at them and be like, oh my gosh, I have had a tendency to be that way. But now that I'm aware of it, the next time I see it occur, the next time I feel the urge, when I see something, I'm like, ooh, wow. Wow, check that out. Ooh, I got to have this, right? No, then you can sit there at that moment. You raise your consciousness by actively at that moment taking yourself by the hand and saying, okay, it's just a lighter. Okay, do you really need this? Are you sure it's not that Sagittarian shit? Blowing it out of proportion, the value of it? Are you sure it's not your Scorpio stuff, valuing something that you don't have and thinking you need it when you really don't, right? Are you sure it's not your Capricorn thing, where it kind of wants to put this, what the Capricorn energy does is it makes you think that by having more of the tangible, structured, material 3D, you're going to be more secure. And God, if that is the furthest thing from the truth, isn't it? I mean, look what's happening. Right? We are losing the tangible 3D, right? It's dissolving before our eyes, right? We don't have our jobs, but yet we're still alive. We're still thinking, we're still communicating, we're still relating, we're finding out there are other ways of being, okay? And this is what this experience is about. And I would really, really, really be upset if we did not individually and collectively understand the bigger meaning of these experiences, because that is the quantum elevation, that for each individual to elevate their own consciousness, okay, and by being aware of themselves and the way that they think and their emotions, and asking themselves to really look at your chart and understand why it is you do what you do, why it is you feel the way you feel. Is it relevant? Is it actually you, or is it an impression you're getting from the planets? Your fourth house has Pluto energy in it. And this is all about Pluto showing you and teaching you that you held on to some things that were tangible, material, physical, and you no longer need them. The moon is at 324 and the sun is at 324, and they're together. And when they come together, it is a powerful time to set intentions. But we're going to wait until the 24th of April. And I'm asking you to wait until that time because the moon is a little bit more solid. It's a little bit more stable into the Taurus energy because it had just been in the very fiery, very fast, quick moving. It is very impulsive and it's very action orientated. It really wants to just go ahead and do. And so it needs to slow down because Taurus energy is way slower than Arian energy. It needs to sit still. It needs to really think about what it needs. It's not so much about what I want, but what I truly need in your life. Your Taurus energy is in your 8th house, okay? So this 8th house new moon is about your shared energy, your shared resources. So what do you want to know for your future? What do you need for your future in terms of sharing things? Things that it's not just going to be about your values, but your spouse's values, your spouse's resources, okay, if you're married. If you have a partner, right? If you don't have a partner, this could be connecting to the other side because it's the 8th house. Or if you want to have a partner, what is it that you need in a partner? For someone for you to deeply bond with, what are those qualities? But remember, this is need versus wants. What we're going to figure out, though, is how to utilize the opposite energy. We're going to go back now. It is the same thing. It's Scorpio in your 2nd house. So it's understanding that I know I see other people's things, and I understand I like, ooh, I want those. It's really more about what it is you need. And it's also about understanding that your value system, making sure that because you have been so focused, because of the inclination of Scorpio energy in your second house, has had you so focused on others' values, it has been covering up your own values. It has been covering up not just your own material values, but also the things inside of you that make up who you are. What do you bring to the table? And now you become a value. All right? And when you have a more clear idea of how you are valuable as a human being, you then change what it is you value. And that is what we're all learning. Yours is in your second house. Okay? So this is another reinforcement of reevaluating what you value. And it's going to be lining up with your mate. If you are married, okay, this is a big deal. And if you're not married, it could be a business partnership. Don't forget about that Scorpio energy. It's not just marriage relationships. It is business partnerships as well. Okay? Because it's shared resources. And so you might be thinking, I'm not either of those things. Like I can give you a great example myself. You know, where I live, I live with a couple. I have two housemates, okay? They're married. I'm not married, but they're married. So how does that work for me? Because I'm not married. I'm not in a relationship. I'm not married. However, we all share this space, and our resources are very much entwined in a way, right? Because we have to live under the same roof. The bills all still got to get paid, right? So in a way, there's a partnership that exists there, right? And so it can be complicated depending upon who you are and what kind of a life you live. Now, I'm going to talk about Pluto again because at this time, Pluto is standing still. And it's standing still because it's going to go retrograde. When a planet stands still, it becomes stronger. It intensifies in its power. Now, we know Pluto is the rotor-rooter of the zodiac, so it drills down. Well, it's going to go deeper and deeper and deeper, right? And so that's in your Capricorn. That's in your fourth house. So understanding that when Pluto does that, it elevates things, okay? It brings up fear, all right? And we don't want to be in a place of fear with Pluto. We don't want the fear to control us. You have Capricorn in your fourth house, all right? Pluto being there and Pluto bringing up more fear about physical, material, tangible things, okay? Recognizing you're under the influence of Pluto. Once Pluto starts moving, like when we get to the 26th and the 27th, it'll start literally moving again. It'll feel a little bit better. Now, for your specific chart, if you have something squaring Pluto, you would want to comment, and I can tell you if you don't know, okay? You also want to find out if anything's going to be squaring this new moon for you. Your new moon at 323 in your fixed energy of Taurus means that if you have anything in Leo or in Aquarius at 323, it'll be squaring it. Now, we do have some complex energies happening for the rest of April. It means stay flexible, understanding that we're in changing times, and this is how it's going to be, okay? Realizing that we also have Mercury transiting really fast through Aries, and on the day of the new moon, it's already at 20 degrees Aries energy. Mercury is how we think, okay? Mercury is connected to Uranus, so it's all about, you know, the scientist and information coming in and having discoveries made. But when it goes through Aries energy really fast, it's going to be that person, that rush of, I'm going to be the first one to come out with the coronavirus vaccination, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's not going to be the real deal. All I am saying is that I know it... there's this rush on it. And when you rush something and you don't research and you don't test, there could be false positives, right? It could be not what you thought it was going to be because you rushed it. Because Aries is impulsive. It says, oh, but we did 100 tests, right? And wow, it came out great. And so there's this lack of depth in Arian energy because Aries is so fast and so fiery, and it's fire. And Gemini, Mercury, is air. And when they are together, they combust, right? And so there's this excitement. There's this, oh, I got this. So be prepared in your own life to understand that this is the energy present, and realize that although we may be getting clarity, because now Mercury's not going to be in Pisces, thank God, that's good, but there will be lots of information coming out very fast, very fast. And I personally will be waiting around until Mercury gets into the Taurus energy. Because when Mercury gets into Taurus, it'll touch Aquarius. And then when it's in that grounded, earthy, stable energy of Taurus, and it's with Uranus, then we have the moment of Eureka coming in. For me anyway, that's what I'm going to go by. I also want to give you one last heads up about June eclipses that are coming. I'm going to try and make sure I do rising sign videos for each, coming with the eclipse at 15 degrees in Sagittarius. That's going to be in your 3rd house, so you want to look that up. See if you have any planets there, and see if you have any planets squaring 15 degrees of Sag. If you don't know, comment your stuff below. I can help you figure that out. But this is going to be a big release. This is going to be, I have to let something go. Now, if you have something at that exactly already, you've already had to let it go. You would already know, to be honest with you. But there could be some other factors in there. There could be something that you have in your chart in either Pisces or Virgo energy, because all mutable energy will square that. And so there may be other things that you don't know about that may create these tensions and stresses at that time. And I wanted to give everybody a heads up as soon as possible, because we're probably going to come upon a time come May where we're being given the green light. And I'm telling you by what I'm looking at in the energy here, there's going to be this rise of like another rise of stress and tension and loss, because we're going to have Mars going through Pisces, and it's going to be conjunct Neptune. And Mars is our health, it's our body, it's our physicality. Okay, and Neptune dissolves that. It literally makes you feel ill. It makes you more prone and susceptible to infections and whatnot. And so you can't ignore that. You just need to be prepared. And so I want you to be as best prepared as you can be. All right, you got any questions, you let me know. Libra Ascendant, Libra Rising, I will help you out. Bye.